They said it was a sprawling mansion nestled deep in the countryside, miles away from the city's noise. For the price of a showbox apartment, we got history, we got space, we got a new beginning. My wife Sarah was enchanted by the winding staircases and the grand dusty ballroom. My daughter Lily loved the idea of a garden so big she could get lost in it. I just wanted a quiet place to work, a sanctuary, but sanctuaries can become prisons. It started subtly, a flicker in the corner of my eye, a feeling of being watched. We'd walk down the long portrait-lined hallway, and I'd swear the painted eyes of long-dead aristocrats were tracking our every move. I mentioned it to Sarah once. She just laughed. It's an optical illusion, Mark, old painter's trick. Lily, however, seemed to agree with me. She stopped playing in that hallway altogether, claiming the sad people in the pictures made her uncomfortable. I should have listened to her. The feeling of being watched soon became a certainty. It wasn't just the portraits anymore. I'd be in my study trying to focus on my manuscript and a chill would crawl up my spine. The ornate patterns in the wallpaper would seem to shift, to swirl. Sometimes for a fleeting second I'd see a face, a distorted, anguished face staring out from the floral designs before melting back into the pattern. It was maddening. I started taking pictures of the walls, poring over them for hours, trying to prove I wasn't losing my mind. But the faces were never there in the photos. They were only there for me. Then came the whispers, faint at first, like the rustling of leaves or the sighing of the wind. But they grew louder, more distinct. It was always my name, Mark. A drawn-out, mournful whisper that seemed to come from the very bones of the house. It would echo down the empty corridors when I was alone, a phantom call from an unseen source. I'd whip my head around, heart pounding, but there was never anyone there. Sarah couldn't hear them. When I asked her, she'd just look at me with growing concern. Mark, you're working too hard. You're not sleeping enough. Maybe she was right. Maybe the stress and the isolation were getting to me. I started to doubt my own senses. One rainy afternoon, I was exploring the attic, a place we hadn't touched since moving in. It was a treasure trove of forgotten things, draped in cobwebs and a century of dust. Tucked away in a dark corner, I found a heavy, leather-bound trunk. The lock was rusted shut, but with a bit of force it sprang open. Inside, nestled amongst moth-eaten clothes, were stacks of old journals, diaries, dozens of them written in different hands, spanning decades. The first one I picked up was from a woman named Eleanor, dated 1892. Her first entries were filled with hope, much like ours. She wrote of the house as a beautiful escape, a place to raise her family. But then the tone shifted. She wrote about the portraits, how their eyes held a captured sorrow. She mentioned seeing faces in the wallpaper, the ghosts of the plaster, she called them. And then she wrote about the whispers, her husband's name called on the wind, Arthur. Arthur. Her final entry was a single, frantic sentence. The house wants him. It's taking him. I can feel him fading away. I tore through the other journals. A man in the 1920s, a family in the 50s, a young couple in the 80s. The stories were all terrifyingly the same. They moved in, fell in love with the house, and then the house began to consume one of them. The portraits that watched, the faces in the walls, the whispers of a name. It was a pattern, a gruesome cycle. Each journal ended in despair, describing a loved one growing distant, pale, almost translucent before simply disappearing, their soul absorbed into the very fabric of the building. A cold dread, colder than any draft in that old house, washed over me. I finally understood. The portraits weren't just paintings, they were windows. The faces in the walls weren't illusions, they were prisoners, every previous tenant chosen by the house. Their souls were trapped here. The whispers I heard weren't the wind, it was them. The trapped souls calling out not to me but for me. They were calling the next name on the list. I ran downstairs, the journals clutched in my hands. Sarah was in the living room arranging flowers. Mark, you're white as a sheet. What's wrong? I tried to explain, my words tumbling over each other, showing her the diaries, the identical stories of horror. She listened, her expression shifting from confusion to pity and then to fear, but not fear of the house. Fear for me. She thought I'd finally broken. Mark, she said softly, we need to get you some help, this place. It's not good for you. That's when I saw it, over her shoulder, reflected in the dark glass of the grandfather clock, my own face, but it was. Wrong. It was pale, shimmering, almost transparent. My reflection looked gaunt, exhausted, with eyes full of a sorrow that wasn't my own. And behind me, swirling in the reflection, were other faces. The anguished faces from the wallpaper, their mouths open in silent screams. They were reaching for me, their ghostly hands passing right through. My fading form, the whispers were louder now, a chorus inside my head. Mark. Join us, Mark. I looked at my hands. They seemed less solid, the light from the window passing through them. The house wasn't just watching anymore. It was taking. Sarah was right. This place wasn't good for me, but it was too late to leave. The new beginning had been a lie. It was just the end of an old story, and I was the final chapter. The house had found its next resident, and the collection of souls was about to grow by one. My name was being added to the chorus, and soon I too would be a face in the wall, watching the next family arrive, waiting to whisper their name. Thank you so much for watching this tale unfold. If you enjoy stories that get under your skin, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling content. We've got plenty more haunted hallways to explore together. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this story, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.